क्या recording चालू है?
Hmm. See, we are discussing here about the different types of attribute. Okay. We have already discussed uh, in our previous class
हाँ,
those things.
okay.
So, what is a relation? Relation is something. This is a relation. The a tabular
अच्छा,
format. Whenever you are representing data in a tabular format, you can call it a relation. Why it is called
relation.
a relation?
Okay.
Because it has a relation between the rows and columns. Okay.
हाँ,
So these are the simple things. Now, see, these columns are called attributes. Attributes, you can classify attributes in different format. First one is your simple or atomic attribute. Now,
okay,
consider this attribute, this class.
okay.
So, this attribute is a simple attribute, or we can say an atomic attribute. Now, what is an atomic attribute? That I will tell you later. But before that, I say, what is a composite attribute? Think about this attribute, name. Okay. So if I call name is a composite attribute. Why I am calling name is a composite attribute? Can't I say that name is a collection of first name plus middle name plus last name? Can't I call?
Yeah.
So if you try to divide name, then it is possible. That's why name is called a composite attribute because we can divide it into three different parts, right? So this is a composite attribute.
Okay.
All the attributes which can be divided into another sub attributes, subpart, those are called
That is
composite attribute.
composite. Okay.
Then you clearly understand then what is a simple or atomic attribute? The attribute which cannot be
Cannot
divided
be divided.
further. See, class. Can you divide the attribute class further? No, it is not
No.
possible. Can you divide section? No, it's
No.
not possible. Roll number? No. So these are all simple and atomic attribute. But name here, you can divide it. Okay. For the DOB you can call it as a
Date of
composite
birth.
attribute because
Composite attribute.
you
Month,
can
year,
divide it
and
into month, year, and just
date.
like that. So it is okay. Simple attribute and composite attribute. What are
हाँ,
simple and what are composite attribute?
yes,
Yes.
bye.
Fine. Next, you have something called single valued attribute. See, if you have an attribute in your table which contains only single value, then it is called a single valued attribute. Suppose this roll number, all these fields here will contain one value, one and only one value, na? So this is a class. This obviously will contain one value. You cannot have multiple values. So these attributes, you can say these are called single valued attributes. Now, what is multi-valued attribute? Suppose you have some field, a field here, say phone number, phone, phone numbers.
Hmm.
Suppose,
Yes. STD code and number or country code
no,
and
no,
number.
no, not STD code. I am saying phone numbers. That
Okay.
means you can have
Two
different set
numbers.
of value. You can have multiple phone numbers now.
Okay. Okay.
Say one,
Alternative
two,
number,
three,
first number, second
comma,
number, alternative number. Okay.
like that. So if you have a field like this, then this type of field is called multi-valued attribute. Okay,
Okay.
these are called multi-valued attribute. So with respect to that, you can understand what is a single valued attribute. So the
Multi.
attribute which contains only single value, those are called single valued attribute. Okay,
Okay.
clear.
Clear.
Next, you have something called derived attribute. What is a derived attribute? Derived. See, when you are designing a database, when you are designing a table for a particular element like student here, later we will identify it as an entity. Okay, since I do not disclose what is the entity in database management system, so I am not pronouncing it as an entity, but later we will say student is an entity. Anyway, so while designing a student, a schema like this. For every attribute, for every feature of the student, we do not have to represent it in an attribute. For example, the derived attribute means what? Derived attribute is such attribute which we can derive from any existing attribute in the table.
Like
So,
parent table or something like
yeah.
that. We can
See,
take
I
it
am
from table.
not giving you all the definitions here. Okay, that will took much of time. We
Mm,
will learn it from the book I have shared already. I
mm,
mentioned the page numbers over there, and I will supply some PDF or something else from where you can read all those things. So go with the definition, collect the definition, and trust me, it will help you in case of MCQ and in case of descriptive questions also. Okay. So
okay.
derived attribute which can be derived from existing, not for all things I will write this thing. Okay, so for a few I obviously can write this. The derived attribute is which can be derived from existing attribute
Hmm.
or attributes. Okay,
Okay.
so can anybody guess here? Can anybody give me an example of a derived attribute?
Age.
Yes,
Year
very good.
from date of birth.
Year from date of birth means year from date of birth is not an attribute. If you can say, see, age is, I'm taking
From
age
which
is
we can calculate age, right?
age, or you can say year of birth.
Birth.
है ना?
हाँ.
You have to say like this. Okay, so year of birth can be an attribute that can be put inside this structure, but we do not need it because we have DOB. So from DOB we can calculate the year of birth. From DOB we can calculate the age. So these two, with respect to the student table, we can have say that these are the derived attribute that we can get from this DOB. Is it clear?
Yes.
हाँ.
Okay, okay. So derived attribute is such thing. Next you have null valued attribute. Now, while you are designing a database or a table, there may be in initial phase, there may be a column, one or two columns over there for which you do not have some values. Okay.
Okay.
So those all attributes which do not contains any value at any stage. Okay.
Hmm.
Those are called null valued attribute. Say for
Okay.
example, suppose if we add a column here like say marks maybe, but I can say student though, say grade
Yes. Hmm.
of last exam. Say we add another attribute for this
Ah.
student table like grade of last exam. Since
Okay.
last exam is not yet completed while designing the student table, see every data will be available for a student. Class, section, role, name, date of birth, and city will be available at the beginning of the design, at initial phase. But will this be available?
Last
No.
exam. No.
Last exam complete, whenever the last exam will be completed, after that you will get the grade. So
Yeah.
till the last exam completed, this column will remain
And
empty.
empty.
So nothing can be remain empty as per physics law, right?
Yes.
So an empty space must be filled with some value, and that is called null value.
Okay.
So those empty fields, then that time, this attribute will be termed as null valued attribute. Okay, a null valued attribute does not mean that every time it will contains null value. Later, when the value is available, we will put that value inside that field.
हाँ.
Okay, let me show you one thing. See, this is a table, right? I have the opportunity to show you.
Hmm.
See, these are the null. But in
हाँ.
the same field, in the same field, you will find some values. Okay. So for these employees, you have the values, but for
Yeah.
these employees, you do not have that value right now.
Huh.
Later, we will have, when the value will be available, we will put it in here. So these
Okay.
fields are called null valued attribute. These attributes are called null valued attribute. Boliye, everyone, is it okay? The different
हाँ
types
भाई.
of attributes. You have to
Understood.
clearly identify, you have to clearly understand all these things. Okay?
Understood.
Okay, fine. So attributes part is complete. With related to attribute, I must say something that is called domain of attribute. Now, what is that? Domain of attribute means the value that a particular attribute can hold must be a specific type. You all agree about that thing, no? See,
हाँ.
in this in this field, in
हाँ.
this field, we can put only the strings which
Yes.
related to name,
Name.
a human name.
Characters.
We cannot put a date over here. Na? In this field, we cannot put any date because
Yes.
that is not permissible.
हाँ.
Okay, so we can say the domain of this field are such string which reflects a human name. Right.
Okay.
Okay. Think about this thing. What will be the domain of this field? This field
Date.
contains
Date.
only
Integer.
date, not integer. Are
Date
these
format.
integer? These are date.
Date,
Date
Date.
date
format.
data type.
The domain of
Date data
this
type.
DOB, exactly. The domain of this field will be date. Okay. Now think this field. What will be the domain of this field? This will be
Number.
as this
Integer
field
int.
represent integer number, right?
Yes.
So these are called the domain of the attribute. Means if you
Pause.
define domain of an attribute, it is the range of the value, okay, the types of the value that is permissible for that particular attribute. I repeat, it
Possible
is
set
the
of we can consider.
possible set of values. Okay, in your terms, you can define it in any language. So it is a possible set of all values. Okay, now see, tell me very specifically, tell me domain of name as per the student. Name is student name.
Student name.
Tell me what I will write then.
Characters.
Mhm.
String.
Can any student name be a something like that? Z. Can you say Z is
String.
the name of a student? Strings. Okay, I am giving you a string. This is the name of a student. Is it possible?
It contain first name, middle name, something like that we can consider.
No. See, I am writing like this. Domain of this student is, it is a set of all possible human, sorry, names.
Okay.
Just try to understand. It contains every human names in the world that is possible. Suppose there is a name which has not been allocated to any person in the world, but still it comes under this domain. Na?
Yes.
It is a set of all possible human names. While I am saying human names, see, I am discarding the names of the animals, names of the
Animals
trees,
name.
names of the other things.
Other.
So that's why I use this term, human names. If I delete this term, then you can argue.
Yes.
Okay, so table is the name of a particular object, na? A furniture. Then why it will not appear in this domain? That's why I use this thing, human name. Right? Okay. Is it okay?
Yes.
हाँ.
Okay. Now tell me one more thing. Role. So what will be the domain of role?
The integer.
Now you can understand in which line I am asking.
Domain's roll number. Student roll number.
Role. So just try.
Any integer numbers.
Okay, fine. I am giving this thing. Can it be a
Range
role?
0 to greater than 0.
Right. A role cannot be like this, negative. Okay.
That's the reason.
Role
So,
cannot be like that,
so
5.2. Okay. So it
positive,
will be, right,
positive integers,
positive
integers.
integer.
Integer.
That's all. Okay.
Sorry.
So, so this is the domain of role. So you understand what is the domain, na?
Yes,
Fine.
clear now.
So just last one. What will be the domain of city? I am not writing it.
All set of all possible place
It
names.
is.
Exactly. Fine. Now you have to understand properly. Set of all possible cities or set of all cities, not possible cities, you can say, because city
Set
has
of all
already been
cities.
defined. Set of all cities in the world. Okay.
Hmm.
So that is the domain of the city. This field contains any value from that particular set. That is called a domain, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now come to the part called keys. It's a big thing. Keys. Keys
Hmm.
means a particular set of attribute which has the unique power to define any particular row against all other rows in a particular table. Okay. Keys. What is keys? Keys is a set of attributes. That set can contain one attribute. That set can contain multiple attributes. But it has the unique power to identify any particular row from all other rows. Okay, uniquely it can identify any row. So that is called a key. Okay. Now key we have, see, we have keys. If you define a key, so it is a set of all possible. It is a set of attributes which have the power to identify a row against all other rows. But we can define this key in three forms, basic three forms. What are those? One
Primary
is your
key.
super key.
Primary
Okay,
key.
in our last class we have defined it. We write the definition of, also over there. So just take it. I am just discussing super key. Super key is any possible attribute. See here in this table. Look, I am asking concentrate on this row. Sanjay Roy. Okay. If I ask you that tell me the city of Sanjay Roy, then can you tell me specifically
Yes, we
which
can.
is the city?
Lucknow.
We
Lucknow.
can.
But if I ask you what is the city of Mitali Sharma, see you have
To
Patna.
Mithali
two
Sharma.
records.
With
Oh,
Mithali
Can you
Noida
Sharma.
and
specifically
Patna.
tell me? No,
No,
Noida. You have to specifically. You have to give me one answer.
it's not possible.
It's not possible. That is the requirement of key. Okay.
So we have to go according to the class. That's where we
You
can
have to go according to some
class.
set of attribute. Okay.
Uh,
So what is that set of attribute? I am taking another table for in our discussion. Look, this is a table. It has the records of employee, right?
yeah.
Now see, you look at this field,
Employee
EID.
ID.
Okay, clearly this is an ID. We all know what is an ID. Okay, so
Employee ID
ID
is
will
unique.
be an unique. Fine. So if I ask you, tell me the city of employee ID 103, then you can specifically
Lucknow.
tell me Lucknow, right?
Yes.
So this attribute in this table, I can say this is a key attribute And we
Unique
can
key.
say
Super key.
unique attribute. Super key is, see, this is your EID. Okay, this is your EID. So by knowing an EID of a particular employee, we can find him uniquely in a table, na?
Ha.
Acha, tell me, if I tell you that find out the city of the employee whose EID is 103 and whose name is Sanjay. Can you
Lucknow.
tell me? Obviously. Knowing only EID, you can tell me. But
Yeah.
if I tell you any
Huh.
other attribute with that EID, you can also tell me. So
Yes.
I can say that this is also a super key. Na?
Hmm.
In combination with EID, any other attribute will have that power to identify uniquely one employee from the table, right? So
Yes.
any combination with EID is called a super key. So super key is any combination of keys which have that unique power. Is it clear?
Okay. It
Okay.
cannot
So
be a
for a
single key then.
why this is a single attribute,
So
single
this
attribute key.
EID is also called a super key only.
Yeah, this is a
Okay.
super key. This is also a super key. I'm writing one or two more.
EID with the
Say
city also.
CEID, F name, L name, also a super key. Okay. Now you can find something called PAN. You know, PAN is also a unique, na?
Yes, PAN
PAN,
card is also unique.
PAN card number. That
Yes.
is also a unique for our Indians. So
Mm.
PAN, we can identify that PAN is also a super key.
Super key.
With
Yes.
PAN, if I say F name, that is also a super key, right?
Super key.
Okay. Now you can say that EID and PAN, again a super key. Okay.
Yes.
EID, PAN, F name, L name, like that. These are all super keys. So what is super key? Super key is any attributes, any combination of attributes which have that unique power to identify one particular record. That is called super key. Any set of attribute. Tell me, is it clear? Super key.
Yes, it's clear.
Any set of attribute you have to remember. Okay. Next, you have something called candidate key. Candidate key, CK. Now, what is candidate key? Candidate key is called a minimal super key. I'm telling you, candidate key is minimal super key. CK is minimal super key. Means CK is a super key which contains minimum number of attributes. Okay.
Okay.
CK is a key, is a super key which contains the minimum number of attributes. Now, obviously, this is the set of all possible super keys. Okay, this is a set of
Ah.
all possible super keys, which includes every key in that particular table. Super key contains every keys for that particular table. So obviously, this set will also contain the possible candidate keys, right? So identify what are the or what is the candidate key from this super key. Tell me, what will be the candidate keys?
Like a name, EID with name.
No, EID and name. See, EID
Only
and
EID.
name. It is a key, obviously. It is also a super key. But is it a candidate key? Because to become a candidate key, this must contain minimum number of key with that unique identification power.
That
So
is
you can
EID only.
readily discard this F name, na?
Ah. Only
So
EID.
knowing EID, you can identify a particular record. So from here, EID will be your candidate key. Is there any other candidate key here?
Pan.
Right. PAN
PAN
is
number.
also only PAN.
Huh.
It is also a candidate key. So there is no more candidate keys over here. So the set of these attributes or these keys, see, we have two candidate keys here, right? So these are called candidate keys. Candidate keys is minimal super key, which contains minimum number of attributes for that unique identification power.
Yeah.
Tell me, is it clear?
Clear. Clear by.
Okay. Anyone have doubt? Please tell me. Otherwise,
What's the difference between both?
sorry.
What's the difference between both the keys?
Yeah. In case of super key, you can have any number of attribute with that unique identification power. Is it okay? This term, this language of mine. Super key is a collection of any number of attributes. Say to become a key in this table, you need what? Minimum EID, na? You need
Yeah.
minimum EID or you
Yes.
need minimum PAN, right?
Yes.
With this, if you add any attribute, say lname, can't we find the data with this set? Tell me.
We can find the data.
We can find a not multiple data, only single data.
Huh.
Telling you EID and lname, you
Huh.
can definitely find one single data, one single record,
Yes.
na?
Yes. Unique data.
Yeah. So this becomes your
Super key.
super key or key.
Huh.
Okay. But see, candidate key is what? To become this super key, a candidate key, you need to have minimum number of attributes.
Yeah.
So in this set, you do not require this lname at all to identify a unique record. Na?
Huh. Yes.
So you can easily discard the lname. You have to remember candidate key must have the minimum number of attributes with that unique identification power. Are you getting the words? Is it
Yes.
clear now?
Clear by
Yes.
very much.
Okay, now the person who was asking, sorry.
I think Muhammad asked the question.
Okay,
He said okay.
okay, fine.
He has texted,
So,
sent a message.
okay. Candidate key is then the minimum number of attributes which have the unique identification power. Okay.
Huh.
Now, for any table in a database, we first find the super keys. Among those super keys, we identify the candidate keys. Okay. And lastly, we have to select one candidate key permanently for that table as a primary key. I repeat, I'm repeating once again. For any database, for any table, first of all, we have to identify all the super keys like this. From after identifying all the super keys, from all those super keys, we have to identify what are the candidate keys.
Hmm.
After identifying candidate keys, we select any one of them,
Huh.
any one permanently. What I mean by permanently means in that particular database, whenever you refer this table,
Hmm.
suppose we are selecting here EID. Okay, we are
Yes.
selecting EID as our primary key.
Hmm.
Means what? Whenever in our application, wherever this employee table is referred, this EID will be treated as a primary key.
Primary key.
This is a great significance in your database, primary key, because you have to define a primary key in order to distinguish a particular record from all other records. So primary key is the key which is applied in case of application development. Okay. So what is primary key? Primary key is a candidate key. We have to select from the set of candidate keys any one of the candidate key can be treated as a primary key. But once you decided, okay, EID is my primary key, you have to fix in that. You cannot say in some places EID is a primary key, in some places PAN is a primary key. That you can't say. That I am showing you right now. Okay.
Hmm.
So primary key is a candidate key which is fixed for a particular table in a particular database.
Yeah.
So after identifying a primary key, we in this design we have to underline that particular attribute to
Ah,
identify that this is our primary key. Underline. So
okay.
if you see in a particular table some attribute is underlined, that you will identify that that attribute is your primary key. Tell me, up to this is okay?
All clear, bhai.
Yes, it's all clear.
So see, I am telling like this.
Ah,
Every primary key, see, every primary key is a candidate key, but not every candidate key is a primary key.
ah,
True?
true.
MCQ type question.
Ah,
Every candidate key is a super key,
ah,
but every
Again,
super key is not a
candidate
candidate key.
key.
ah,
Those are some derived questions. If you understand properly, then you can easily answer these questions. Okay.
ah,
So the order of identifying a primary key is this. First, you identify a super key, then you
hmm.
identify candidate key,
Hmm.
then select any candidate key permanently fixed.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me show you one thing. See, this is one of my database tables, a few tables. See, EMP. Okay.
Ah, ah,
So I am just creating one table here. Okay. Just simple table. You do not have to understand all those things. Just follow the thing. Suppose I am creating, say what I say travel or say location. Location. What are the number of columns? I am giving 3, just like that. So it will give me a something like the table where I can enter my attributes, required attributes. So column 1. In column 1, I am giving say location name, right? Next column, I am giving location city, or says not city, state. And I am giving location country. Okay. All those fields have a domain of string. So for string domain, we use varchar. We will discuss all those things in our SQL class. Don't worry about that. So I am giving
Variable character.
variable character. We will discuss everything in our SQL class very soon. Very soon. We'll go for programming. So save.
Okay.
Now see, this is our location table. Okay.
Hmm.
Location table. Okay. Just clicking it. So this is showing us the structure. See, lock name, lock state. Okay. So I can leave this table here as it is. But while I will apply this table in my application, I must have some key into it. Otherwise,
Ah,
writing program on this type of table without having a key will be a difficult one. Okay.
yeah.
So how to set a key? So you have to set, you can set different types of keys for a particular table, but you must set a primary key for that. So setting
Ah,
primary key is something like that. Since it's a GUI tool, means graphical user interface tool, so I can set the primary key just like by clicking the this checkbox and see
primary.
primary. This key sign, चाबी का जो sign है, okay, this key
Ah,
sign will identify that this is a primary key. So
yeah.
see, the underline comes here. So
Ah,
it identifies that this becomes the key of the table. Now
yeah.
when you have this, when you define this attribute as the key of this table, see, you cannot insert duplicate data in that table. Suppose
Yeah.
I am trying to enter, say location name, say बोलो कुछ झटपट से लोकेशन नेम बताओ. अच्छा ऐसे ही हम
Bangalore.
लिख देते हैं.
Mm.
एक the state is your
Karnataka.
Karnataka,
Karnataka.
country is obviously India.
India.
India. Okay. Now I have say BBB, state is your again say
UP.
UP, right? India.
India.
Okay. So go. So you have two data. See here. Okay. Now I am trying to insert one more data with your
Yay.
A.
Yeah.
4A was there, I think. Huh?
Mm.
Yes.
Say state, I can give any state. Say
UP
West
only you
Bengal.
can
Maharashtra.
take.
Okay.
West
Country
Bengal of
India.
India.
Okay.
Mm.
So don't go with the spelling. Just
Mm.
click the go and see there is an error because see duplicate entry for the
Cannot be
key
possible.
primary. See duplicate entry AAA for the key primary, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Now I am showing that location, go to the structure and remove the primary key. I am just removing the primary key. Don't go how I do that thing. We will discuss the total thing later. See here in location, we do not have any primary key. Na? Underline goes away.
Yeah.
Now again we
Underline.
try to insert
Now it
AAA
will. Now it will take the
Allah.
input.
India. See what happens? It is taking 2A here. Na?
Correct.
Right? Is it okay?
Correct.
So
Yes.
primary key will be
Uniquely
a
identify the
yeah,
records
obviously
in a
uniquely
table.
identify. It is a constraint, means it's a rule that has been established on a particular table. Okay, so you have to define a primary key for each individual table for the programming purpose or for the data consistency, whatever you can say. So primary
It
key must
cannot
be there,
contain, yeah, it cannot contain duplicate values.
surely. Okay, other than these three keys, we have something called foreign key, but I am not going to discuss foreign key
Okay.
because we have to discuss it in detail in later phase. That is something called referential integrity constraint that we will discuss after learning the SQL. Okay.
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 Okay, fine. So up to this, if there is any doubt,
No doubt.
It's clear.
now moving to keys is all clear. So primary foreign key we will do later. Now come to the part entity. Now what is an entity? Entity is in a database system, entity is an object. Okay, means you have to identify an entity while you are designing an database. You have to identify what are the entities. Suppose I am saying you that we are going to write a program or design an application, write an application for an university, say university management system, right? Just like our LMS,
हाँ.
learning management system, और
Management
क्या कहते हैं
system.
वो लोग? Learning
Learning
management
management.
system क्या
Learning
कहते
management.
Yeah, सही
हैं?
है.
Learning management.
सही है.
चलो learning management system कहते हैं. LMS,
हाँ.
learning management system. So that is a software they
हाँ.
build.
Yes.
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 So we have to identify. So to design the database for these LMS, okay. So we have to identify what are the entities that will play role into it, in it. So I'm just telling you, see, student, no?
Yes.
Students are one entity that will
Teacher.
that
Faculty.
will have to play a role in the LMS. Faculties is another entity which will play a role in the LMS. Okay.
Program
Course,
coordinator or counselor.
right? You can say courses.
Okay.
Okay. Is another entity. Say exams, another
As
entity, and so on. So what is an entity? Entity is an object which is going to play a particular a defined role into a particular database system. Means for which part, for which elements, the clients needs to maintain data. Okay, is it okay? For which the client need to maintain data. See, in our LMS, the university Jane needs to maintain students' data. They needs to maintain faculty's data. They needs to maintain classes data. Okay.
Yes. Exams
So
data, everything.
for whatever they wants to maintain a data, that can be called as an entity. Okay.
Okay.
Is it clear? Entity. So
Yes.
entity
Yes.
is an object in database system which need to be for which we need to maintain data. So that is called an entity. So these are all entities. Now, one student is an entity. See, one student is an entity. Is an entity. One faculty is an entity. Means what? See here, one employee is an entity. One employee. This is an entity. This is an entity, right? Then the whole table, you can say it as, can I say that it is a set of entities? This is called a
Yes.
entity set. Okay. So what is entity set? Set of
All
multiple
the
entities.
multiple entities in a
You
table
can
or
say it
something.
is a table.
In a
Table
table.
of all entities
Entities.
or table or set.
Set.
Set or table of all entities. Okay. So relation can also be termed as entity set. Remember. Okay. Is it okay? Entity. What is
Yes. Fine.
entity?
Yes. Fine.
Yes. Yes.
Acha, in primary key section, say I'm just going a bit reverse. See, we have not defined any key for this. No? This table, student. Can anybody identify a primary key for
Roll
this
number.
table?
Roll number.
Look at the data before
Oh.
identifying it.
Oh. It's repeated. Okay. No, we have to set one more because all are like one or the other way duplicate data is only there. We need to have something called as ID or something.
No. We do not need that.
Roll number is repeated, so we cannot consider it.
We cannot consider roll number. We cannot consider class. We cannot consider section. But we can consider,
Date of birth.
no, we can
No,
consider
all
this
the three
total set,
together.
all the three
Oh,
together.
sir. All the three together.
Class, section, roll number. Say, this is a database I
Then it
specifically
became,
designed.
sorry, then it became a super key, right?
No,
No.
it is a super key. It is a candidate key. It can be treated as a primary key. Okay.
Okay, primary can
See
also
here.
be a set of keys.
Yeah, sure. Primary key. What I said in a super candidate key is a minimal super key. Means it is the minimum number of attributes. I did not
These are
specify that it will
required.
contain one attribute. It is a minimum number of attribute that you need to identify uniquely a row. Nah. So consider this is the table for a school student table. So in a school, what happened? A roll number changes for every section and every classes, na? So
Yes,
only a specifying single roll number, you cannot identify any particular student from a school. If it is a
yes,
university student, just like we have a specific roll number throughout the course. So roll number will be an unique for every student in a university course. Okay.
Yeah.
But in
yes,
case of a school student, Roll number varies from classes to class, or varies not. Roll number is same in every class, so from 1 to 60,
It starts from 1 to.
from 1 to 60, something like that. So to identify a particular student from a school database, school table, you need to specify his class, his section, and then his roll number. Then you can uniquely identify one student. So
Correct.
in case of this type of situation, you will have primary key, class, role, and
Section.
section, role. So clearly, this is a set of attributes, and this
Yes.
type of primary key is called composite primary key.
Okay.
Composite primary key, because it is a composition of multiple
3
uh,
attributes.
multiple attributes. Okay, so it is called a composite primary key. So I did not mention that to become a primary key, in a primary key you have only one attribute. In a candidate key you have only one attribute. Okay, see here, this is also a candidate key. In case of student table, say class, section, and role, this is also a candidate key, na? Because this is the minimum number of attribute you required for that table to identify uniquely a
Clear
row.
ident. Yes.
So that is a candidate key. Okay. So that's why I designed these two tables separately. This table contains multiple keys, multiple values, one single attribute key. Okay. Single attribute, single primary key, single attribute primary key, which is not composite like this. And this table contains a composite primary key. Is it okay? Tell me.
Clear.
Okay. Now again back to our entity discussion. So you have to identify what are the entities. Okay, in a particular, while you are developing a system database for a particular system, you have to identify what are the entities that will play a role in it. Okay, so these are called entity. Entity is, as per the definition is concerned, entity is a object, a real world object which has some specific attributes. So student is an entity. So you identify student is an entity which have some specific attributes. What are the attributes? Student name, student role, student city, etc., etc. Are you getting the things? What is the
Yes.
relation between entity and attributes?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, bye.
Okay. So entity and entity set we cleared. Okay. Now we can identify entities as strong entity and weak entity. Okay. What is a strong entity? Strong entity is something which have a primary key. Entity contains primary key. An entity that contains primary key can be termed as a strong entity. Okay. An entity that does not contain a primary key is called a weak entity. Now, what is that? See, mm, think of a situation that you have student, okay, and you have, say, here I am not taking class, section, and roll number. I am talking about university student. So I can have a SID, so student ID, right? And have some other data. Think about library books. So for each individual book, there will be a book ID, right? And book name, book author, etc. Now consider a student is taking book from the library. How the library will keep track of that book? So
They
Student
will match
ID.
the
there,
student ID
Student
with the
ID.
book ID.
yeah. So I can say that I am giving a name, say stud book. which contains SID and BID, right?
Yeah.
With that, I can also put the date of lending the
Date,
book or
data
etc. etc.
filtering.
Any other information. But look at this third table. Does it contain any primary key of its own?
No, it
It
does
does
not.
not
No,
contain its own primary key, and
no.
it do not require any primary key at all, because the purpose of this stud book is to give the information which student takes which book, right?
Correct.
So we
Yeah.
do not need any kind of primary key for this type of tables. So here there are three tables, na? Three relations. But these two relations are different from these relations. These are called something called master. Okay. For application developers, if you ask what are the masters you have, they will promptly identify that means you are mentioning strong entities. Okay. And these are called transactions. For an application developer, if you ask what are the transaction tables, so they will identify those as weak and strong entity. But who will understand strong entity and weak entity? Those are the DBMS analyst, the person who analyze the data and create the database. The DBA, database administrator, or the whoever working with database only, they will identify strong entity and
Strong,
weak entity
weak
with this
entity.
terminology. But the person who is uh, only dealing with the programming part for an application development, okay, so they will term this thing as masters and transaction files. Okay, you identify. So these are the primary key of the respective table, but these do not contain the primary key. We can sometimes in application development we implement this thing as a primary key by enforcing another attribute, say transaction ID. It has some other purpose. Okay, but this do not require every time. Okay, so I am just removing it so that it may confuse you. So just forget that thing. So the tables for which it do not have any primary key of its own primary key. Okay, the primary key is here. SID and BID are the primary keys borrowed from different tables. So these tables are called weak entity set or weak entities. Is it okay? Tell me
Yes,
for
it is
everyone.
clear.
Yes. Yeah, bye.
It is clear.
Okay. So strong entity and weak entity, up to this we have cleared.
Yeah.
Now, where we stands for. So relational model we understand. Table, relation, attributes, instance, schema, keys.
Keys,
We all understand
Yeah.
entity
all these
relation.
things. We have also understand what is entity.
Huh.
Okay. Now, see here we have to consider the design of a particular database. Now think of a situation. Suppose we are working in a software company or application development company. Okay, there we are a team. Means we have some developers, we have some database person, we have some HR, some management person who will actually dealing for the monetary, the financial aspects of the projects and everything with our clients. So we will move to our client's location for the interview section, for the analysis section. Okay, so we have to get the data, we have to get the information from the client side. Okay, so client investigation is the part. Okay, so after reaching to client's place, we will interview uh, the persons, respective persons who deals with those data manually. Say our client is doing the things manually. They needs an automation. They needs to build an application. For that purpose, they hire us. We visited to client's place and we are interviewing each and everyone who deals with the data actual part. Okay, so we record all those things. Okay, by means of audio recording, by means of video recording, by means of paper writings. We collect all those data from the client side and sit in our office and analyze the thing. While we are analyzing, we will be there only the database personals. Okay, because the first thing is to identify the data. For any application development, the first thing you have to identify the data. What will be the data? What are the data? Okay,
Hmm.
so now we are in the phase of designing the database, right?
Correct.
So what we have, think about that particular moment of time. What we have lots of unorganized
Data.
information or data, raw data in our hand. No?
Yeah.
So now we have to recollect
Or
all those things. We have to design all those things to
in
form
org
a to form something which look like
table.
this. Look like this. So whatever you are seeing here, okay, that comes after that whole analysis part. Okay, are you getting the thing?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now how those person, the DBMS person, analyze the thing, how all those data uh, got from the client's interview, okay, has been put together into a paper, okay, and that is been done by something called a graphical tool, ERD, entity relationship diagram. Okay. Now, how it look? So I give you the target. See, this is our target. This type of, don't go in these words and don't try to understand whatever written here. I am just showing it to you to visualize our target. We will draw something like that. Now,
Flowchart, right?
it's not flowchart. It's not flowchart. It's a graphical representation of client's communication. Means the whatever client
Huh.
at the time of interview gave us about the records and data that they need to maintain in their
Hmm.
database. Those all information has been put together in a graphical
Huh.
format.
Okay.
Okay, so we have to design something like that. This is
Huh.
called an ERD, entity relationship diagram. Okay,
Huh.
like flowchart. What you do in a flowchart, you represent the logic, you represent the control flow of a program in a
Yeah.
flowchart. Na?
Huh.
So in your diagram, you establish the you identify the different entities in the system you will require, means the client will require. You identify all the attributes. You identify the relationship among those entities. Okay, so those all things we have to do over here. Another, see another look of your diagram. This is say internet sales model.
This looks
Maybe
like
this is a
Visio
system.
diagram.
What diagram?
Visio diagram.
What that? Visual diagram. I don't know.
Visio in the sense Visio is an application.
Okay.
With that we
So
can do this.
yeah. So our aim, our target is to design an ER diagram. See, this is also an ER diagram. Now the interesting thing is that DBMS is DBMS differs from author to author, from person to person. Okay, it doesn't necessary that you will always design ER diagram in this fashion. You can design ER diagram in this fashion also. Okay, but initially you have to follow a particular specific genre. Okay, so I follow this type of this type of diagram. This is the most simplest way to understand. Once you understand one particular style, then you can easily derive of your own, or you can easily move to other notations or other designing style. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Can we
Yes,
move
it is
forward?
fine. Yes.
Okay, so it is our aim. The purpose of ER diagram, I'm just finally speaking, the purpose of ER diagram is to collect all the client's information about the data in a particular specific figure, and try to identifying the entities and the relationship and the attributes and other things also. So I am giving you uh, to design an ER diagram, we have to follow some steps. Okay, that I will give you. What are the steps to design an ER diagram? But first, let me show you some. We need some graphical notations. Okay, graphical symbols to identify. So first two things are that you have to identify entities. Then you have to identify attributes of each entity. There are some steps. I will write it more clearly later. Then identify relationships among entities. Right. So let's consider these three things first. When you identify an entity, you have to represent it as a rectangular box. This is a symbol. So I can
For
write
representing
symbols of
entity.
ERD. There are many symbols, but I will not give you much more symbols because we do not require all those symbols. So this symbol represents what? Entity. You have to write the name of entity here. Okay. So this rectangular box will represent an entity. Okay.
Okay.
Now this figure will show you the relationship. Okay. And this is the link. This is a link. In many books you will find some directional lines, means arrow-headed lines, but don't go with arrow-headed line. That is also right, but as I am demonstrating here, I will follow undirected lines. So this is a link between. If you want to link between entity and relationship, you have to put a line between these two. I am just showing it right now. Okay, so this oval is attribute. Okay, this oval is attribute. Now say, if I have to represent the student, like you have the student here, this table, entity means what? Student is an entity. So this will be your an entity, student. If
Yeah.
anybody is not getting, tell me. So if student is your entity,
Hmm.
then what are the attributes you have?
Roll number.
Roll number,
Student ID, student name, student
student
section.
ID, student name, student section. Okay, say student age,
Age,
Date of
city.
birth.
birth,
Okay,
city,
so I can say student ID. Say this is your name. Maybe this is
class, class,
class.
section,
Class.
section.
Okay, I'm not writing class, not that particular student. I'm just think some university student. Okay.
Okay.
So name, city,
Date of birth,
say DOB,
course,
and give one more name,
course.
maybe course, like that. Okay. So this is the way how you have to represent a particular entity in a database, in a ER diagram, sorry, not in database. ER diagram is the design of the database. Before implementing the database in this format, you have to make an analysis. Okay, so what will be our design, what will be the entities, and what are the relationship. So this is the way how you have to represent a what an entity.
Entity.
Okay, now inside an entity, I am making it as a primary key, so you have to underline it like that.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Fine.
Tell me.
Yes, fine.
Fine. See, if the system requires the some say what I can say, some derived attribute, right?
Yes.
If the system requires some derived attribute, if the system requires some weak entity set, then how can you represent those into your ER diagram? See, this will be your derived attribute. This will be your derived attribute. Dotted circle. Got it?
Okay.
This will be your derived attribute. Okay.
Okay.
Now, how can you define a multi-valued attribute? So for a multi-valued attribute, this is a multi-valued attribute.
Double oval or double
Double
circle.
circle, double oval. Okay, this is a multi-valued attribute. So in short, I am writing multi-valued attribute as MVD. MVD, multi-valued attribute. Sorry, not MVD. Multi-valued attribute, MVA. Okay, MVA, multi-valued attribute. Okay. Now there is one left. That is your weak entity set.
Rounded rectangle.
No. It's a double rectangle.
Okay. Weak entity.
This is your weak entity set.
Okay.
Weak entity. Weak entity. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So see here, if we need derived attribute from DOB, so we can do something like that. Say age. So derived attribute. That will signify that age is a derived attribute which need to be derived from DOB.
To DOB.
Tell me, are these symbols okay with you?
Yes, all
You
clear.
will find many other symbols for ER diagram, and some symbols may differ from books to book, from author to author. But you persist on this symbols. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, identifying entities. So you have to identify, while designing a database, you have to identify different entities, and you have to identify different attributes. These are all okay. Okay.
Yes.
Now relationship. Think about an institute or a university. Just like we have
Jane.
identified some LMS here. Okay. Student and faculty. Okay. So these are the entities we have identified for our LMS for Jane. Now, what you have to identify now? You have to identify the relationship among those entities.
Yes.
Relationships among
Entities.
entities. Okay. So See here, till now we have identified only four entities. No?
Yes.
So how can we relate these entities? I'm writing like that.
One faculty can have many student.
No, 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 not like that. So tell me one thing. Student has any relation with faculty?
Yes.
Yes. Student have relation with faculty. Does student have any relation with course? Obviously.
Yes.
Does student have any relation with exam? Obvious.
Yes.
Okay. Does faculty have any relation with course? Obviously.
Yes.
Faculty conduct course. Faculty have relation with exam?
Exam as well as
Conduct
student.
also exam. Okay. Course has any relation with exam? Obviously,
Yes.
course has
Yes.
a term and exam. Okay. Now, I'm introducing another entity over here in our LMS. Say your those what I say
Grade.
regular class information है ना जो आते हैं ना
Program
that
information.
not
Important
program information,
announcement. Important announcement
important announcement. No,
is
important
also
announcement we will not consider important announcements. We will consider say calendar,
calendar.
which will have some events, no?
Yes.
Calendar.
List of
So that
events.
can also be treated as an entity. Tell
Yes.
me if student has any direct relation with calendar. Has any relation? Does
Direct.
faculty have any relation with calendar?
I think yes.
Actually,
Yeah,
directly do not. They
I
might
think
not
yes
have.
but say student have.
because they have to complete the what do you say syllabus, right?
Yeah, in that sense,
Uh,
obviously, since calendar is inside LMS, so
uh,
obviously it will have relation with everyone. But
everyone, yeah.
we can assume that direct relation. Okay, if I take the calendar, then the calendar as it is showing the regular classes only, right?
Yes.
Let me introduce one more entity here: regular classes. The classes.
Mm.
Obviously, classes, those classes held on Saturday and Sunday, those are the classes. Okay,
Yes.
so I am considering calendar will show the records of classes. Okay,
Yes.
so in that case we can say this calendar has a direct relation with classes, and the calendar has direct relation with faculty and student, but the calendar has no relation with course and exam. Can I say that?
Calendar has
Yes.
no
No
relation with.
direct relation with course and exam, because calendar, I am considering this calendar that will show only the regular classes, not the exam. See, the exam timetable has been given separately na, to us.
Yes.
It was not showing in the calendar, right? If you can remember,
Yes. Yes.
they have published separately a timetable. So
That.
I can assume that calendar is not directly related with this course and exam, right? But calendar is directly related with faculty and student. So this is called relationship. I am just trying to make you understand what is a relationship is. Okay. Now establish a few things, then you will understand more properly. So how to establish or how to design the relationship between student and faculty. So you have to write something like that. Student, faculty, and you have to show the relationship between them. So you have to introduce this symbol. Okay, you write student and faculty are related Okay. So student and faculty are related, but related by what? You have to give a name to the relationship. This is the relationship between student and faculty. So we have to give the name of relationship in verbal terms. The student taught by faculty. Tell me, you have to find the entities. After that, you have to find the relationship among the entities, and you have to give the name of the relationship in verbal form. Okay, so student taught by faculty, that will be the ER
Yes.
diagram for student and faculty. Okay, after that, what you have to do, you have to identify the different attributes for students and faculties, and you have to put those
Link those.
attributes like that.
Hmm. For faculty, I think
Tell me.
course, course.
Attributes. I am not writing the attributes. Whatever attributes you will decide, your
Uh,
LMS will require. So those
uh,
attributes will come here.
okay,
Is it
okay.
okay?
Huh.
Yes.
Now go further. So course. Take one more entity here. Course. So you have a course entity. You will have a course entity. And you have already identified that course is related with student and faculty both, right?
Yes.
So you can, I'm not, I'm just writing in this way so that it can be done fast. So student,
Selected.
you have to
Select.
give some name. Student select course. You can say,
Select.
or student enrolled in.
Hmm.
Enrolled in.
Okay, enrolled
Faculty
in.
teach course.
So student enrolled in course, you may have the attributes of the course here.
Huh.
Now, what will be the relation between course and faculty?
Teaching.
Okay,
Subject.
I
subject
think
na. Student is faculty is actually
teacher.
conducting a course, or
Okay.
you can say
Teaching the
conduct,
core.
Teaching.
teach.
Engaging the core. No. Eh,
Am I not audible?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
you
you
are
are
very much
audible.
audible.
Oh, okay, okay.
So for the timing, I am writing here conduct.
Okay.
Faculty conduct
The course.
course, something like that. Okay. Now there is a convention. While you are reading this ER diagram, entire diagram, how can you read it? You have to read it in this way, from left to right. You have to read it from top to bottom. See, you can read
Correct.
it like that. Faculty taught by student. There will be no meaning. Na?
Yes.
So
I
you have to write, you have to read it in this format. So those who knows ER diagram, okay, they will read in this way. Okay. So to student taught by faculty, you cannot
huh.
read like that. Course enrolled in student.
Definitely. Bottom
Hmm.
to top is not there. Top to bottom only should.
Yeah, I'm just writing here enrolled in student. So you have to read the thing left to right and top to bottom. Okay. What is ERD basically? Basically, this is a conceptual design or structure that has been defined by the experienced person in that DBMS team. You may say DBA or data analyst. Okay, those persons
Mhm.
who have
Actually,
that analytical power.
data analyst will do this one, no?
Yeah, obviously, data analyst
It's a
will
job
do
role
this
of
thing
designing a
after
database.
after completing this whole design will be passed to a database programmer, or you can say database operator. Okay,
Okay.
so the job of the operator is to sit in front of a thing like this software and go there, identify those, seeing those
Attributes.
uh, say
Entity
diagram,
and
they will
diagram,
convert the total thing in this format, logical format. Are you getting
program
the thing?
format or the database. Okay.
So this is how you have to draw the entity relationship diagram for any database given. See,
Okay.
this is a job I told you. This is the job of data analyst and DBA, and minimum 10 years of experience is required to become a data analyst because it
Okay.
needs a lots of visualization power. Okay,
Yes.
so what will be the data, where the data will be put in the system in a correct
Mm-hmm.
way. Okay, so
All this
lots of
flow
skill or
control,
lots of
everything.
experience you have to have.
Correct.
Okay, so in the very first day, you will not be able to design a complete yard diagram. Okay, so you have to be patient. I will provide you some exercise, some examples, so that
Mm-hmm.
you can uh, identify how to do the job. Okay, so whatever we did today, we just clear all the terminologies. Okay,
Correct.
and we introduced what is called entity relationship diagram. What is the role of entity relationship diagram in RDBMS? Okay, this is used to plan a database. This is basically what an architect do while you are building your house. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is an architecture of a particular database. Okay,
Okay. So
now
one more question I
mm,
had, sorry, Jim, yeah. So in any
sure.
programming language, like any developer also will be there, na? Like Java architect, or it could be some other language architect. This is what they
See,
do.
while designing database, in that team there might be one or two developer, but this is not the job of a developer.
No, no, no.
Okay,
Just like that, I
developer.
asked, like
Mhm.
architect in that mean. Like, you say, for example, if somebody's designation is Java architect or any programming language architect, something like that, if they give,
If
then.
you say that Java architect, that
Uh-huh.
means the see, I'm showing you something. See, this is an application, right?
Correct.
This is something called menu bar.
Mm.
This is a section. This is a section. You see,
Mm-hmm.
this is a section. This is a section. This is
Correct.
another section.
Yes.
Okay, this is another section.
Another section. Correct.
If you click on this,
It
you will
puts
get
it
another section.
yes.
So you see, this is an application. So designing an application needs also an architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So if you talking about a Java architect, the responsibility of the Java architect is to design this part. So how
the
the data will be
GUI.
represented, how the data will be represented, and what are the sections, different sections of the applications. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
his part is not this one. This is the part of data analyst and database designers.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever database designer will do, they will supply that thing to the Java personnel so that he can implement those data part into their these things, into these designs. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
Java persons are Java
Front end.
architects.
Java
Yeah,
architects are front. Like
they
something
are
they're
actually
building
they
the.
are actually building the architecture of the application itself. After that, they are blending the data coming from the database
Base. Uh-huh.
into their design.
Okay.
Okay, is
Mm-hmm.
it okay?
Yes, yes, I got it.
Okay, up to this, I am asking everyone to give a feedback whether you have understand till now or not, or if there are any doubt left.
Actually clear. Whatever we have discussed
How
today is
many
Clear
clear.
of
like
We are
us
understood.
we have? Yeah. Okay.
सौरिश भाई क्लियर,
No,
बट अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम आता है वीडियो देखने के बाद तो पूछ लेंगे आपको.
sure, you will ask me, but the thing is not ended. I have something. Mm, this one. See, Hmm. These are the type of questions, descriptive type of questions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here there is a story. Means a very short story. Actually, in actual real life application, the story
Mm-hmm.
goes beyond pages, maybe hundred and thousands of pages, depending on the scale of the particular application. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
I am giving you a short story so that you can have a glimpse of the client's requirement. And from this story, you have to identify the entities, the all the things. Okay, and then you have to represent the respective
Schema.
represent all those things in a
In
respective ER
ERD.
diagram. Okay, and
Okay.
obviously I will show a complete exercise by in front of you. Okay.
Okay.
But my suggestion is just go with today's class first. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
after that just read all those things. Okay, just
Mm.
try to read, because you need to identify this thing, you need to read the story, you need to understand the story. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
after that, in the next class we will sit and design a complete structure.
Okay.
You can also design or try to design of your to apply your thoughts on these particular problems. We will discuss all those things in the next class, obviously, but I will definitely show one or two complete how to design a complete ER diagram of these things. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, tell me if anything I have to repeat. Otherwise, see what we
No,
have finished today.
all clear by.
The entity we understood. We understood also what is relationship, degree of relationship, unary relationship, binary relationship, and ternary relationship. Just give me 2 minutes so that I can clear. These are very small things. Degree of relationship means, suppose an entity is there, okay, and this is a relationship, okay. So tell me, with respect to this relationship, how many entities it is related with?
1 to 1.
One.
No, no, no. One to one. Why you are going that one to one, one to n? How many entities?
Two
What is
entities. Two
two
entities
entities?
are, yes,
That's why it is called binary relationship.
binary. Okay.
It is a binary relationship.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if a diagram like this, I will describe this thing in next class, because you
Okay.
need to know this thing. You may have, you not may have, you must have questions from this. See here, how
Uni.
many
Unary.
entities?
Unary.
Obviously, this is unary because you have one
One
entity
entity.
related with this
Relation.
relationship. Okay, so it is your, I'm
Unit.
writing unary or
Relation.
recursive relationship. Why it
Relationship.
is called recursive? I will
Because
also
it
tell you later.
relates, recursive means again and again it is relating. The
Not
task
again
is
and again, because this entity is related to itself. It is
okay.
related to itself.
Itself.
See,
Okay.
it is
Yes.
related to itself. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
That's why it is called recursive relationship. I
Recursive
will explain
relationship.
and give examples to each of them. And what is ternary?
Three entities will be
Ternary
related.
will be, obviously, ternary means three, so there will be
Entity will be
a
having a
structure
relationship.
like that. This is your ternary relationship. Okay. But you know, in database, we do not like this ternary relationship. So there is a
Mm-hmm.
way. In the later
Mm-hmm.
class, we will identify that to remove this ternary relationship and convert it into binary relationship. So in database, we mostly like this binary relationship. That will be the case.
Mm-hmm.
All relationship need to be binary so that our programmers because we are developing the database for our programmers, okay, the application
Correct.
developers.
Yes.
The main job will be done by them. So we have to keep in mind that our programmers' task will become easy.
Correct.
So if we have ternary relationship, their job will be critical. So we have to convert the ternary. We have some mechanism to convert a
Okay.
ternary relationship into binary relationship that we will discuss later. So these are
Okay.
the three types of
Degrees of.
relationship. Now, degree means what? How many number of entities a relationship is attached with. This is called the degree of relationship. Okay.
Yes.
This is degree of relationship. We clear it. Then the rest of the things we will do in the later class. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So in the next class, we will start by designing a complete ER diagram.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we will go details in the rest of the part. Okay.
Okay.
So we are ending our class here. Just finally, tell me if anything else you require. I will send all these documents in the group and the exercise also. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then thank you.
Thank you.
थैंक यू भाई.
थैंक यू सूरज भाई.
Thank you.
भाई
हाँ
रिकॉर्डिंग
thank you.
स्टॉप कर लेता हूँ 1 मिनट.
हाँ हाँ कर लो. No problem. Okay.